To do it.
All right, and we are live. Hi, everyone. We got our moderators on there already, Thrifty Nomads. So real quick, wanted to come on here and say hello to everyone. We're Sell Quick, Ship Quick, and we are on live with Dominic, Primetime Treasure Hunter.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Thanks for having me on board. I really appreciate it. It's really nice to be here.
Awesome, awesome. And here's the other half.
Hey, Tiff.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you today?
Awesome. Thanks for having me on board.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.
Real quick, do you guys can you guys hear me in there? You guys hear us nice and clear? You guys see us? Make sure we're not frozen images. Let us know, at least nomads.
I think we're good. We got a lot of Josh in here.
Yeah.
That's always good.
Awesome. All right. So, I mean, off the bat, just wanted to, again, say, if you, this is the first time you're watching us, we're doing this live. So if you see that we're talking to people, it's because we're talking on the live chat. So you guys can always check out that live chat as we go. And if you haven't already, subscribe and you'll be able to keep up with us. Doing our best to do a little bit more YouTube. We have a crazy schedule. But again, sell quick, ship quick. And before we keep going, Primetime, Dominic, how about you tell them where they can find you?
My business name is Primetime Treasure, and that's what I use on Instagram. But for my persona, I use that as Primetime Treasure Hunter, which is the name of my YouTube channel. So you can find me over there, and also my Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center. We're close to 8,000 members there. So if people would like to come on by over there and join, it's really a fun time, and I'd really encourage you to do that. I see a lot of people from the Facebook group here, and so I'd just like to tell all of them and people, I know there's going to be people watching on a replay who are like coaching tonight and stuff like that, to also make sure that they subscribe to you. Sell quick, ship quick. You got to say that like 4 times fast. That's really hard.
Oh, yeah.
Sell quick, ship quick. There we go. I got it. So, yeah, so make sure you follow them. I've been following them for a while, and they're really good. They have really good quality content. So I hope you all could help them out and help them continue to grow.
Appreciate it. No,
Absolutely.
I know you definitely have a big following on YouTube and on Facebook, especially, because your groups are great.
Thank you.
We're not too active on Facebook. I mean, we're trying to. We're pretty active on IG, but
I got to get you guys in the Facebook group.
Yeah, I mean, I got our Facebook account. I just I'm not very active on it, so
yeah,
I will be getting on and doing a little bit more there.
Yeah, that would be awesome. It would be good to have you guys on board there.
Awesome, awesome.
Do you have a Facebook account, Tiffany?
I do. Well, we both have our personal ones, and I think Hugo created a Sell Quick, Ship Quick Facebook account.
I saw that. You could join as a business too. So if you just want your business to join, you could do that. I have a bunch of businesses that joined.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm going to end up doing. I mean, we kept our, I mean, it's not that separate. Anyone can find our personal accounts.
Yeah.
But because I do my best to be so active on our Sell Quick account, I don't do anything in the personal account.
Yeah. No, neither do I. I don't either. Nothing personal. It's all business.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
But I did want to ask. So first off, we've watched you and we've seen you come up, and you have great content. And what I've noticed is you do a lot of. You're really good with the memorabilia stuff. Some of the older stuff. Where do you sell this stuff? What platform do you sell on, basically?
I'm an eBayer through and through for the most part. I mean, unless it's something that is just, enormous and that I just cannot, realistically ship it on eBay, then it's going to go on, Craigslist for something local, or OfferUp, or Let Go, something like that. But yeah, it's 99.9% of the stuff is on eBay.
Yeah. On our end, we do eBay, we do Poshmark, we do Amazon, Mercari.
You doing FBA or?
Yeah, we're doing FBA. We did do some seller fulfilled at first, but for right now we're doing FBA. Even though it's in the back burner, we haven't really been too active with FBA, which we should, because we got the pro account, so we better start using it.
Oh, right, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. But in terms of the big items, I mean, what would be an example of a big item you wouldn't ship?
Well, I'll give you a good example. So now she's behind the scenes, but my wife, Mrs. Primetime, we affectionately refer to her as, she doesn't come on the camera, no matter how much I keep bothering her to come on, but she won't. She helps me out sourcing sometimes, and she likes to get furniture pieces. So as an example, she picked up a really nice wooden tea cart. It has, it has the wheels on it. It's from the late 1800s, early 1900s. She got it for $10 at an estate sale. We posted, that's not something you're really going to ship. You could do it on eBay for local pickup, but that's very similar to doing it on Craigslist. So we've got it online right now for $125, and we had an offer come in for $85, and we tried to see if we could meet in the middle or whatever, but the person found something else they wanted. But an offer already came in pretty quick, so that would be a good example of something big that you're not gonna put a giant wooden tea cart with these massive wheels inside a box and ship it off.
Yeah. Although I did see, I don't know if you follow, but Loretta from
Thrift Love Sell.
Thrift Love Sell. She actually did I think she did a video, or she's talked about how she did do was it a cocktail cart that she was doing?
Like a bar cart.
Yeah, a little bar cart. So I mean, some people take on that challenge.
Yeah.
I like challenging shipping because between us, I do the shipping.
Right.
But I would agree, a cart of some kind. Yeah.
I mean, this thing is massive though. Like, yeah. I have to see the size of the bar cart compared to this one, because if this person could ship this this tea cart, I'm gonna give her huge props, because. But I don't shy away from bulky things. That's one of the things I would encourage people who are new to start trying to branch into are bulky things, because particularly electronics, DVD, VCR combos sell really well. A lot of people shy away from those things because they think, oh, it's just going to be too expensive to ship it. And you could really get reasonable shipping rates if you're smart with how you set your shipping and you compare FedEx versus USPS. And even depending on how hardcore you want to take it, you could even get a UPS account and compare over there as well.
No, yeah, we definitely don't shy away from heavier stuff. I mean, so far, and I like shipping challenges. The heaviest thing and bulkiest thing I've shipped was a 50-pound typewriter.
Okay. Yeah.
Big old the IBM Selectric.
Yeah. Yeah, right, and that's reasonable because that's relatively compact, even though it's heavy. You can find a box for that.
You just gotta safely, yeah.
What
would be the biggest thing you've shipped?
Okay. Well, now we have to separate out biggest versus heaviest. So
yeah, and by all means, in our case, biggest and heaviest is the same thing. That box was fairly big and heavy.
Yeah. Well, one time I was at an estate sale. By the way, I like the cat. What's the cat's name?
Wasabi.
Wasabi.
Oh, Wasabi. That's funny. Okay. So I wonder if she'd get along with Daisy. I don't know if you saw my pet Shih Tzu, but I don't know. Does she like dogs?
So he gets along with dogs. Our other cat. No.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I found this. It was basically a big playhouse that was made out of cardboard. And it was from the 1970s, and this thing was ginormous. I mean, it was big flat piece of cardboard, but when you assembled it, it basically made almost like a mini house inside. Like it basically filled up about a third of the size of my living room. That's how big this thing was. But so obviously you wouldn't ship it assembled. You'd have to disassemble it. But it was so big that even disassembled, it was just absolutely enormous. And I was shocked that when I went to ship it, fortunately, the person who purchased it was local. And when I say local, I mean, it was like 1 state over, 2 states over. And it cost me like $11 to ship. And that was a real eye opener to me that, big bulky items don't always cost a fortune. A lot of people think, oh, it's just going to cost me like $50 to ship it. Not necessarily the case. So.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, because that typewriter, by chance, I mean, we're in California and it sold to Northern California. So shipping on that 50-pound thing was just about $20, which was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, just this weekend I sold something pretty heavy and really pretty large. I'd have to say it was the biggest box I've ever used. It was It was the vintage clothes ringer that I sold. It sold for $175. And this thing was just, I mean, really huge. And the thing that made it tricky to ship was that not only was it heavy, but it had this wooden crank handle on the side of it. And you could try to take that off, but if you take it off, we tried to like experiment with it. We were worried we were going to bust the piece and we didn't want to break it. So the challenge was to find a box that was big enough that could fit it. I eventually found one, and you know, bubble wrapped it up, you know, put nice padding around it and everything, some foam padding, and it went out to Oklahoma from New York. So I'm from New York for people who don't know. So, you know, Midwest, from the East Coast, and surprisingly, went out FedEx home delivery for only $20. So my net on all of it with the fees and with the shipping, and this thing weighed like 25 pounds, and the box was huge. It was like, you know, it was like 20 inches by 16. I mean, it was crazy. You know, I made a profit of 125 on it. So, you know, you just,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
just,
Yeah.
you know, it goes to show, you know, it wasn't, you know, I was hoping it would be around 30 or less, and, you know, 21, I was pretty happy.
No, that's really cool. So, I mean, I wanted to get, so there's usual questions that we all know because you've been on other interviews, but the main thing that I think is interesting is your background in your other career. So,
Yeah. Yep.
How about you explain that? You've said it in the past, but what do you do on your day?
Well, I have a lot of firsts. I'm the first neuropsychologist, I believe, that ever worked as a bouncer before. That's where I met my wife, Mrs. Primetime. So, and then I'm also probably the first reseller with a YouTube channel who's a board certified neuropsychologist. So, one of my friends calls me the Onion because I do all of these different things and take on all these different adventures. And so, yeah, that's just a perfect example of it. So basically, not to get too boring for people, but for those who don't know and have not heard of the term before, a neuropsychologist is a type of doctor who specializes in understanding the relationship between how someone's brain functions and how they think and how they feel and how they behave. So patients, adults, and kids get referred to me for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes it's because we already know what happened to them. They suffered a really severe brain injury in a car accident, and we need to know what their functioning level is. Can they return to work? You know, that type of thing. Other times it might be an elderly woman or gentleman who's having memory problems, and there's concern from the family about whether or not the person has Alzheimer's disease or normal memory loss from aging, or maybe they just seem like their memory's off because they're depressed. So, you know, because depression increases as people get older and people around them start dying. So I could go on and on. There's like a million different reasons why people would refer patients over to me, but that's what I'm doing on your average day, 8 to 5, and sometimes longer.
I mean, that's, yeah. I mean, first off, it's real interesting because you're right. I don't know anyone else in the reselling community that is a neuropsychologist. But my thing that I've always found interesting for resellers is we all have a diverse background. Because there are some true resellers that come from like a long line of resellers, but not the majority. So a lot of us, like in our case, a lot of people know already, we have a variety of jobs. We're personal trainers. We manage 2 family restaurants. We do property management. We do, what else we do? Oh, you work at the school and you do financial aid director position, and then we do reselling. So we actually feel like all that helps us in terms of reselling because we are conscious of different categories to sell in because of our field. So we recognize things. Right. And also all our experience with different types of customer service, I feel that really helps us out with dealing with all the buyers on eBay and the other platforms as well. Yeah. But I'm curious, how does yours background or in neuropsychology kind of change how you do reselling?
It's a good question, Hugo. I would tell you that if we want to get specific into neuropsychology, I'd actually tell you nothing. Okay. And it kind of sounds like a funny answer. I mean, if we want to get more general about it and we want to get into psychology, that I think has helped, and that has helped my YouTube channel. I have a whole entire playlist section that's devoted to the psychology of negotiation and the psychology of dealing with people who send you lowball offers, and you know, how to use behavior, which is really what psychology is. It's the study of behavior. How I use that as at estate sales to monitor my competition and you know, come up with plans and strategies and search strategies to find treasures. So that's really how I more use it in terms of like, you know, how I would assess a person with dementia and use that towards reselling. There's really no connection, but I would tell you that that is actually a reason what drives me into partly what drives me into doing reselling is because it is something very different from what I do during the day, and it's good to have a break from that and to do something else that's totally unrelated.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's very much unrelated. But at the same time, your background psychology, that's the edge that I think you got in it, is understanding behavior. So coming down to the estate sales, negotiating, or even responding to messages and understanding, you know, keywords that people use and what that might mean and how their attitude is. I mean, that's great info to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, by the way, you notice I did bring water on tonight. I did not. And I shouldn't show this. This is gonna mess me up with people who know about some of the junk food I eat. But I was eating a yogurt beforehand, blueberry yogurt. I do like, so all healthy, just for you guys. Okay, I saw your show last night about diet, and I didn't want to disappoint you.
Totally appreciate it. And by all means, when we've talked about our health foods, look, I like hot Cheetos. I enjoy ice cream sundaes and brownies and all that. But it's all about timing it.
We'll eat McDonald's once in a while.
I know.
That's
all right. There you go.
But it's all about balance. And similar to psychology, when we do training, we understand that food is part of culture and culture is part of who you are. So it's hard to tell people to completely cut out.
And we would never do that.
No. I mean,
but you're all right. What you said last night is right. With drinking soda and, you know, sugary beverages, that you should always have a bottle of water near you to make sure you get that sugar off your teeth. So I always have that water near me at all times. Yep.
Oh no, completely agree. So I was thinking though. So we're going back to talking about reselling though. With you having your other day job, awesome job, career, not job. It allows you to be more selective in your reselling, which is really cool. But so is that why you stick to memorabilia for the most part, or do you actually do a very general sourcing in terms like you actually do some clothing here and there, shoes?
I do. I'm always looking to diversify because, you know, even with memorabilia, you know, you could have a day or two where, for whatever reason, the types of items that you have up, be it comic books or action figures or posters, that there's just not the person who wants that day is looking for it. And so it's good to have some clothes up. And so I have some shirts and, you know, up in my store. I've had more before. I need to get back into that and putting more up. But I am into learning about all different categories. It's why I love watching other YouTubers as well and seeing the kind of things that they're selling, because it just gives me additional ideas. So I don't want to pin myself in one corner. I do like to specialize in certain areas, and you're right, memorabilia is one, but more specifically, I specialize in comic books and toys. But pretty much anything, if we want to get very general, anything vintage. I love doing the vintage stuff. So, you know, be it old books or old signs, anything like that. There's just, you know, there's just such good market out there for that type of stuff.
No, yeah. And in terms of sourcing, so I mean, I remember seeing some of your older videos. There were quick shots of you just saying what you're doing. And really, I've only seen you talk about estate sales. Again, I mean, is that all? I might be wrong. I might have missed a few videos.
No, but you're not wrong in that if you got that impression, because estate sales are my favorite. They're definitely my favorite. I put a whole playlist together on my YouTube channel dedicated to teaching people about what estate sales are and how to find them and how to source once you're there, how to prepare for them, all that type of stuff. I like them a lot because it's basically like a giant garage sale. It's like all in one. And so you just have the whole house instead of just what's in the garage or what someone threw on their lawn or their driveway. I do go to garage sales, and so a lot of my haul videos, you will see me out at garage sales. So I'd say I'd put that number 2. But I'll also hit up rummage sales as well. And I do have a lot of videos on my channel where on Sundays, in addition to hitting the, you know, the the garage sales and the estate sales where I'll hit up the local flea market. So I'll do that as well. So and then the other thing that I do is I set up private picks, and that's where I get my biggest scores. So this is done through me taking out ads on Craigslist, and I basically put ads out, several different ads saying what it is that I'm looking for. I have one for comic books, I have one for Funko Pops, and then I have one that says I'm just interested in doing just doing a partial estate clearance. You know, if you have tons of stuff in your place, you need to clear it out, call me. I'll come over, and I basically get to selectively pick out what I want and make a deal with, so I have no competition with me there. And recently, that's what landed me that big score that I had recently with the comics and the Dungeons and Dragons book from that big storage unit that I wound up purchasing. I didn't actually purchase the storage unit directly, but I purchased it all from the guy who bought the storage unit, had all these comics and Dungeons and Dragons books, had no idea what to do. He went to Craigslist, typed in comic books, saw my ad, reached out to me. I went over there and, you know, made the purchase, and it was a great pickup.
No, I remember seeing your video where you explained that. So, I mean, anyone in the chat and anyone watching this later on, go through his channel. I'm sure you could find it. That video where you explain about that, it's really cool because, like you said, part of it is you become the only sourcer. But also it's kind of like fishing. Like the more lines you put out, the more bites you'll get. So multiple ads, and then to throw in, mix that up with your estate sale, shopping. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, thanks.
So the other thing I was going to ask you was, like, do you see this only as a side job? I mean, I know right now you have a good career, but do you see yourself ever leaning more towards reselling than the other?
Pretty much I feel like I have almost 2 full-time jobs because I really pour a lot of energy into this. Once I come home and, you know, once everyone goes to sleep, and also on the weekends, I spend a lot of time on it as well. For me to do it as my only full-time job would really not make sense financially, given the security that I've, you know, earned, and the, you know, and all the time and effort I put into getting that job. It just doesn't really make sense, you know, family-wise. You know, I'd be throwing a lot away. So right now, I'm just going to keep straddling and bouncing between the two. The good thing is, though, I work for the state of New York, and so I've been at my current job for about 14 years now, and once I get to, you know, age 55, 60, I could retire and have a nice retirement, and then that's probably the plan is, you know, just once that time comes around, then I'll just have this, you know, still kicking and going, and, you know, I'll just be doing this, you know, just to generate, you know, hopefully like a equivalent of like a full-time income while I'm retired.
No, yeah, I mean, I see you just with the content alone. I mean, and that's what we've learned ourselves, because we've been putting up more content out and really just sharing our journey. Is social media is almost its own career as well. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And you definitely put a lot more content than we do. You got a lot of short clips, and you've done you have a whole series for interviews. Do you have a schedule for your interviews that you do so people can know when to hop on?
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, generally Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. And I try to mix up the guests, so I have some, you know, bigger name folks on, like I've had Rally Roots and Craigslist Hunter, and let's see, who have Wade from Wade's Ventures. And so, but also I like to bring in people who are, you know, not people who've blown up necessarily on YouTube yet. They're people who are starting out. They're people who don't maybe even have a YouTube channel. They're just really good resellers, and they have something to offer. Like they're really awesome in Poshmark, for example, or they really know a lot about vintage toys. Like I want to bring those people on too. So it's really, you know, a channel for anyone who has something to offer and add. I mean, I'm open to bringing them on and helping other resellers out by seeing what they have to offer, and then helping them out as well by getting them on the channel and getting added exposure.
No, that's great. Yeah. In terms of contacting you, what would be the best way to contact you? So anyone watching that feels they'd like to share their experience and feels they'd like to contact Dom, what would be the best way to reach you?
The best way is in the Facebook group, is to join the Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center. That's number one, because I'm, I run that. I'm on that, frequently, always, I have to be aware of what's going on. I mean, I do have 2 moderators that help me out, but at the same time, I have to, know what's going on. So through that, you get to reach out to me through Facebook Messenger. So a lot of people do it that way. Also, we've interacted a lot through Instagram. So Instagram messaging is also a way. There I'm at prime_time_treasure. And then there's always the email option. I use that less frequently, so I'd say that would be last, but you could always reach out to me there, and that's primeTimeTreasure, it's all one word, at gmail.com.
Awesome. So anyone out there that feels they want to share, definitely reach out. That's a great way to get on there and share.
Hey, we got another Tiffany in the house, by the way, Tiffany Moody from
Hi,
the
Tiffany.
Facebook group. So just wanted to give a shout out to the Tiffany's.
So a little bit from our experience that we've had recently. So in the last about a week, we had really great sales.
Yeah.
Like we just had great sales. They were just taking off on all platforms.
Yep.
And then they crashed and they just disappeared for a moment. I'm curious, on being that you got the psychology background, what do you recommend for people? Like in our case, like similar to you, reselling is not our only source of income. Yeah. So when it crashed, we just worked on it, but we weren't stressing too much. Yeah, we weren't reliant. So what would you suggest to people, for the people that just, the stress is real when you're full-time and that crashes, and how do you pick yourself out of that?
Well, if it's your full-time job, you really have to be diversified across multiple platforms. You can't really probably do what you and I, well, actually, sorry, you are diversified on more platforms, but you probably can't really do what I'm doing, which is focusing almost exclusively on eBay. You can't put all your eggs in one basket in any business. Now you're actually bringing up an interesting topic, because I don't know if you saw it, but did you see it's one of my more recent videos that I did from this weekend, where I talk about on Saturday that my total sales was $11.50 from one sale. That's all I sold. Did you see that one?
Mm-hmm. But we didn't get to the video, but by all means, like, you could explain, because we've had the same thing. We've had from one day to another, we've had a $300 day come down to like a $7 day.
Yeah. So the next day wound up being it went from an $11 Saturday to something like a $673 Sunday. Now, what I want to emphasize about that is that was not just luck or just randomness that happened. As I explained in the video that I did about that, I had really 2 choices of what I could do on Saturday when all I had was $11.50 of sales. I could have laid there frustrated and upset and just hung out on the couch and watched Netflix, but that wasn't going to do anything. I needed to put a plan into action. And so what I did is just try to take control of the situation, because you feel kind of powerless sometimes when you don't make sales, So I looked around and I said, what do I have near me that I know in my inventory is, a really pretty much guaranteed seller that I could put up? And one of it was Snake Mountain, which I have behind me. It's Masters of the Universe. I don't know if you could see it there.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, it's like an evil castle for Skeletor. I had to do a little work just to, test out the battery and, get it all prepped up and everything. And so I did, took the pictures, put it up, found the Masters of the Universe figure that I knew also was quite rare and would sell for a lot pretty quickly. So I took the pictures of that, got it all set up and everything. And next morning, both of those things sold. The action figure sold for $150. The Snake Mountain sold for $125. And then, other sales just kept pouring in throughout the day. Some smaller ones, some $10 sales, but then, that was the day that the clothes ringer sold that I was telling you about for $175. That actually kicked the day off. But one of the things I did for that, even though that had been up for a while, is every weekend, this is a tip for people who are starting out, or even for people who have been around for a while who might not be doing this. I choose 1 day a week or 2 days a week to lower my prices. If it's an item that has been up for more than 7 days, more than a week, I'll give it a week at the current price. but then every weekend, be it I'll do it all on a Saturday or all on a Sunday, or I'll split it between the two. So I had lowered the price on the clothes wringer and other items that just started selling on Sunday. I made sure Sunday morning to knock out all, like lower the prices on all the other ones I hadn't lowered on Saturday. And that, so that really helped out a lot. And so what I'm saying is, general point is that you've got to keep moving. You've got to keep action going. You know, it's like a wheel spinning. It's easy to keep going once you're in motion, but once you stop, it's harder to get going again. So I try to just constantly keep moving and doing things. That's how I could, you know, do things like put out a lot of content and stuff on YouTube, because I just get into a routine and I just don't want to stop, because I know once I stop, it's hard to get back into it again.
So I know that there's a lot of sellers who consider themselves long-tail sellers. What would you consider to be the cutoff for a long-tail item?
You mean how long would I keep it up for? That's a good question. So that depends, okay? I would say that, I mean, what I really consider a long tail, I consider a long tail item, though, an item that is really actually valuable. And there might not necessarily be a ton of people who have demand for it, but there's a select group of buyers who are looking for it. A good example would be that clothes wringer. When I initially put that up, I knew most of them sold for between $150 and $200. But I also knew there was one similar to mine that was listed for $499.99 that had 12 watchers on it. So I said, you know what? I don't mind. I'll put it up for like $475, and I'll just lower it by 25 bucks each week. And I just kept going down and down and down. Now, eventually, right, I got to $199.99. Person offered me like $140. We met at $175. I knew that was going to cost probably $20 to $30 to ship. It wound up costing $21. So I would have, Tiffany, gotten to a point with that item that I know it's going to sell, but I'll just switch it from buy it now, best offer, to buy it now. And I will literally let that type of item sit up there forever, because I like that. This is the good thing about selling items you like, is that I don't mind looking at that and having that out as display. Like there's items I've had on display, like on my back wall, that sat for months and months and months, even 6 months before it sold. And I said, I don't care if someone doesn't give me that price for that particular item, it's not selling. And maybe it'll sell in 3 years, you know. But now, then again, if they're especially, this is especially important with the good till canceled thing starting, is that if you have an item that, let's say you thought it was going to sell for 20 bucks, right? And each week you keep lowering it by a dollar, and finally gets to like $9.99. You don't have a lot of views. You lower it to $8.99, maybe $7.99 is the lowest you're going to go, and it just not selling. At some point, I would tell you, probably sooner rather than later, you need to pull that item off and sell it at a garage sale, or bundle it with something else so you can get the price up and add value to that item. Because you're just eventually, depending on how many items you have up, you're just going to start getting hit with fees, and it's not going to be worth it.
Yeah, totally agree.
In terms of your inventory, how often do you check your inventory for items that may not be selling well? You know, are you checking your inventory on a weekly basis? Are you looking through your store? You know, like I know that some people have a lot of items in their store and then lose track of things, and it might be a few years, and then something just super minor that might not make a lot of profit will sell, but it's been sitting there for 4 years and you just lost track of it.
Good question, Tiffany. What I do is that, well, remember what I said, that I have one day during the week where I lower all my prices for items that are more than 7 days old. So that forces me, at least obviously, that one day a week that I'm going to go back and look at all my items, because I'm always, you know, and I'll see the view count, I'll see how many watchers, and then if there's anything that looks suspicious, I could go in and investigate a little more in terms of, hey, why hasn't this sold yet? Why are there, you know, no watchers on it, like that type of thing. And sometimes I'll find out, you know, a good example was a record. It was an old Rumpelstiltskin record that I had, and I knew it should sell, and it wasn't selling. I said, this doesn't make any sense. And I looked and I saw that I didn't have the first picture of the front of the record. I had everything else on there, but not that. Sometimes I found that for some reason that my category is not correct. It's in the wrong category. Sometimes I found that I meant to have the price at $19.99, and instead it's at $1,999.99, and that's why it's not selling. But I actually do go in and scroll down my items every day, because because I try to list something at least something every day. So once something gets past that 7-day mark, I lower the price a little bit that day as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that's real good. In terms of shipping, though, the famous question everyone has, since we started over a year ago, so we've only been selling together as what we call Sell Quick, Ship Quick since, what was it again, January
26
of last year. So we just went over a year together. But ever since then, the big back and forth debate has always been free shipping or paid shipping.
Yep.
Being that you do memorabilia, you have a special category. I mean, I know you do others, but within the memorabilia category, what would you recommend to people?
Well, this is obviously a very controversial topic, and one that people really, really kind of dig their heels into. I tell people you've got to do what works for whatever your business model is. I mean, that's just, so if you like doing calculated shipping, or you like, putting a flat fee for whatever it is that you do, do that. For me, I figured out a way to make free shipping work, and I do free shipping for everything. Like even that big giant clothes ringer that I sold, that one had free shipping on it, because I know how to incorporate the price into the total cost. It all involves making sure you're checking your comps, that you understand what the market cap is for the item, you realize what the maximum is somebody's going to pay, and you just make sure you have, if you've been doing this for a while, you have an understanding of generally what the worst case scenario is for your shipping costs. So kind of, okay, I can't get below this number, or, you kind of know where the cutoff is. So for me, that's how I've made free shipping work. The mistake people make with free shipping, and why people don't understand it and sometimes people think that it's a bad idea, is they're not incorporating the free shipping into the price. And so they're putting the actual sale price as minus the shipping, and then they're adding the shipping in later. That will kill you. That is silly. You can't do that. You have to add it in to your overall cost.
Yeah,
I agree
completely. I mean, that's how we do it, really. So
most of our things are free shipping. We were messing around with it because there's so many opinions online, and everyone has the way that they run their business. And I think that there's no one right way. Everyone has to figure out what works for them. And so, we follow so many people, we would take advice from people, and we try to adapt it to our own business. So we definitely put some things up for free shipping. And obviously for those, we would calculate it in. So if we know it's going to cost $5 or, whatever, we would add that into the cost. But there were some other things that we would add the shipping to see if there was a difference. Either way, things sold, with or without the shipping costs added to it.
Yeah, right. What I'd say to that too is, so especially because a lot of people take advice from content providers, which is a great thing, because oftentimes you're new, you don't know what to do. Just like in diet and exercise, you got to give it time. So you can't take somebody's advice that says free shipping, do it
for a week.
Yeah, do it for a week and be like, oh, no, this idea is garbage, I can't do it. Or the other way around, like you have to give it time, or else you won't be able to see results. Just like in nutrition or fitness, if you start a diet and you give it a week, or you start a workout regimen
I drank water today, why haven't I lost weight?
Yeah.
Everyone wants instant gratification.
Mm-hmm.
No, definitely. So speaking of now, in terms of shipping and anyway, I'm curious to see what mistakes have you learned from? So in our case, I've mentioned in the past, I've totally eyeballed shipping costs and saying, oh, this is totally going to fit in that flat rate box. I'm good.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't. And then I basically paid somebody $2 to take our item.
Yeah, that stinks. So your question is, what mistakes have I learned?
Yeah, pretty much.
With regards to shipping?
Shipping or sales. I mean, either or, we all make mistakes.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, the other day I almost made a massive mistake, and oh my God, I saved it at the last second. I've never yet, knock on wood, I have never yet sent anyone the wrong item because I always double check and triple check. But the other day I sold a DVD for $42.50, and the color of the DVD, the type of DVD, and the title of the DVD was very similar, and even the size of it was very similar to another one that I had. And I had in my head that this was the one. I grabbed it, I put it in the box, I bubble wrapped it. It weighed exactly a pound. Put it on the porch for the mail carrier to pick up, and I was ready to head off to work. I went down in the basement right here where I am, Primetime Treasure headquarters, where I have a lot of my inventory, and I went down to grab something, and I happened to catch at a corner of my eye a DVD, the other one that I thought, and I said, wait a minute, that's I put the wrong DVD in. This is the one that's supposed to go in the box, not the other one. Now, here's why that would have been such a massive error, guys. That DVD, that other one that's sold, that one sold for $150, that DVD. So I almost sent a $150 DVD set to the wrong person. And there was the same general content area. It was like a Japanese anime. And it was rare and hard to find. And that person would have kept it if they got this DVD. There's no doubt in that.
Yeah,
I would not get that.
Category.
So that caused me to reinforce the need to really just, again, make sure I'm, doing extra checks on the items before I put them in. Some people in the chat who follow me always like to tease me nicely about Jack Daniels. So if you don't know the Jack Daniels story, I could share that a little bit with you.
Oh, please do.
Yes.
Okay, jeez. Oh my gosh. Well, okay. So long story short, I was shopping at the flea market that I told you I source on Sundays, and there were these Jack Daniels picture frames that I was buying for about $9-10 a piece, and they all had some scantily clad lady on it. I mean, she wasn't nude or anything, but like a bikini, with the Jack Daniels bottle, that type of stuff, and it looked completely legit. And I was making enormous return on investment on these things. I was buying them for $9 a pop, and I was selling them for $72.50. Shipping was generally like $8.50. So I was doing really well, and they were selling fast. So I just kept buying them, like crates of them, right? Eventually Jack Daniels catches wind of it, and Jack Daniels, I'm saying literally the company Jack Daniels, okay, comes after me and reports me to eBay for a Vero violation. I get thrown into eBay jail, which basically means you cannot sell on there anymore. I mean, you can't list new things. They do allow you to keep selling the stuff that you already have on there. And that was to be for like a month. I was not going to be on for a month. I fortunately was able to eventually get a supervisor the next day who understood I'd been with the company since 2000, and and this was the first ever incident. And they gave me my selling privileges back the next day. So it wound up being 24 hours. But the thing that I learned from that was that I was kind of looking at there was one particular sign that was a little like made me think, maybe this one's not legitimate, because it had like in the background, there were like some marijuana leaves on it. I'm like, well, you try to rationalize it. You're like, well, everyone these days is like, into like, legalizing marijuana. So maybe Jack Daniels is making like a political statement. But it turns out they're not. Okay. And they weren't behind any of this. And so they didn't want these signs being posted with their name on it, which I totally understand. But then the other thing they did is they went after me on Instagram, because I had posted something on Instagram, and I had 1,200 subscribers at that, not subscribers, but followers on Instagram over like a year. Instagram totally pulled my account off. I couldn't get back in. I had to finally figure a creative way to get back in and build everything back up from scratch. And so I'm happy to say that now I have like 2,400 people on there, which I'm proud to say, because I could have just gave up,
Yeah.
That's, when you lose everything like that, it's rough. But so, there's that. Another quick mistake I could tell you that I've made a couple of times that's frustrating is that I When I go and I revise my price, sometimes or when I put the initial price up, like really late at night, sometimes like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, I accidentally once put a book up that was $49.99 for $4.99 and it sold. Or there was one that was supposed to be, you know, there for like $24.99 and it sold for like $14.99 because I pressed the wrong button. I didn't realize it. In both of those cases, though, I honored the mistake, because you cannot go in and cancel that. You could. If you do, you're leaving yourself open to a negative feedback, and it's just not worth the hassle. But those really were bummers, and so I've really learned to make sure I'm like double and triple checking my prices.
No, yeah, that's a good point. And you answered what I was going to say is when you make a mistake, what do you do in terms of do you cancel or whatnot? And we're the same. If there's a mistake, we'll eat the cost if we have to in some cases. But I mean, we really work to keep positive. Yeah, the buyers happy. Even if we're not always happy with the buyers, we got to take a moment, breathe, and remember one buyer is not worth losing. What is it? I think it's like 18 months for feedback to get cleared or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. Now there's a question there from Thrifting Nomads who said, what do you feel you've learned from the JD incident? What I would tell you is that if you have literally any suspicion at all whether or not your item is genuine, look into it in more detail than I did and don't list it. If you have if you even think it's questionable, especially if it's from like a big name company. I actually, recently I could say in terms of how I translated it into recently, that big storage unit that I purchased, there were like 225 to 250 DVDs. There were a few of them that were bootlegged. 99% of them were fine and legit, but the other ones, you open them up and it said like Memorex inside of it. It was not, someone wrote in marker like what it was, or it was like very, very obvious that someone like printed something out to stick onto the DVD and it was fake. And so I just tossed those. I didn't even bother. Some people would list them. I was just like, no, I don't even want to deal with it.
No, that's a great point. And again, it goes back to taking care of your account. And that's you taking care of your account with great detail. And that's that you don't rely on your account. That's why, like, if you're a full-time reseller or you really do depend on the reselling money you make on the side, you got to take care of your account. And in some cases, I mean, we've seen, what we like to explain is if we buy, say, in your example, a DVD, we buy it for $1 and we have it up for sale for $40. Well, say something happens in there where the buyer says it's not working or anything. Like if you could try to argue your way through it, but technically we spent $1 on it. So we'd rather be like, you know what? Technically we have $1 in plus some shipping. Let's just let them have it, move on.
Yep. I agree if something like that. I mean, once in a while, if someone is, the only time I would tell you there are some times worth standing up for yourself would be if someone's like really just like they send you back the item and they had no respect for how they sent it back and it was something valuable. Like for example, once I sold a few comic books and they're $40. There were some trade paperbacks and I never have any complaints about the condition of my books. And the guy wanted to return them because he complained something about the condition. So I said, fine, I took the return. Guy sent them back. And if you know anything about comic books, you're supposed to protect them in plastic and with a board on the back.
Yes, they don't bend.
Sent them back from where you guys are in California in a bag, okay, loose with no protection. So they came back completely crushed. I couldn't resell them. They were destroyed. So I videotaped me opening the return and I called eBay and I let them know. I finally spoke to a supervisor and what they did is they said, refund the person half and what we'll do is we'll credit you the other 50% with a voucher that you could use in like for your eBay shipping supplies or something. So that's what I did.
We had 2 incidences back to back with VCRs.
Yeah.
And they were drop shippers. It was very obvious drop shipping, no invoice, please send to this address. Well, we sent it within, I think like 1 to 2 weeks, we received the first one back, completely crushed. They just threw the DVD player or VHS player into a box, no padding. It came back to us, and the whole top was like dented in.
Oh God.
The plastic in the front was broken in pieces. We went to eBay Open last year, so we have eBay Concierge.
Yeah.
And so Hugo called them, and I think within 20 minutes they cleared it up. They refunded it. Like, we got our money. We didn't have to refund the buyer. I think they took care of that.
Yeah, this is one of those where they ate it.
Yeah, and then like 2 weeks after that, it was another drop shipper, VHS player. I think it was like a VHS DVD combo. They shipped it back to us with the bubble wrap and box that we put it in, except they threw the player on top of the bubble wrap, not in the bubble wrap, just on top. So it came back crushed as well.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And they jammed like a VHS in there.
Yeah, I ended up with.
Oh, and then we lost the cables and the remote that it came with.
Oh yeah, because I had sent it with remote and cables, and it didn't come back with the remote or cables. So agreed. There are times you got to stand up for yourself, and part of the reason I say stand up is we want to make sure we put in a case. Even if in that case eBay did take care of the return for them, and we kept our money. Besides that point, they get a note that there's a case, some situation happened. So they do it against somebody else and they report it. They won't be alone, and there'll be some record to show, you know what, we're going to trust you because they have a record of this.
What was funny was, I think it was our second return. A few weeks later, Thrifting Nomads on here got an order placed for one of their electronics from the same buyer. And when they showed me that they sold something, I saw the name. And I remembered this name very clearly, and I told them, this was our drop shipper.
And sure enough.
And it was, because I read the message, and it was identical to the one that we had received. I think they called eBay to let them know, like, hey, this is a drop shipper. You know, just in case anything happens and they get it turned back in, eBay took note of it. So if it had been returned to them damaged, eBay was going to take care of that.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
I totally agree with what you guys are saying too, in terms of calling and documenting it, because you're right. eBay does do that. They will go back and look to see, is there a pattern of this type of behavior from the person? So they use that when they're adjudicating claims. And it's also a way of sellers supporting other sellers. So
yeah.
I'm all about that.
It's just funny because, I mean, we've had nomads in here. They're a great couple. We've had the privilege to hang out with them a lot more, being that they're also local. But we were actually outsourcing with them when they got the purchase and showed us excited, like, hey, this electronics sold. And we're like, wait a minute, I know that name.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is just an off topic, but have you ever been harassed by someone on eBay through your store?
Messages, or, you know, in that case.
Aggressive messaging or anything?
Well, I wouldn't say harassed per se, but what some buyers like to do psychologically, and this is where my psychology comes in good, because they don't know who they're dealing with when they try to do this type of stuff to me, is one of my favorite experiences with this is what a set of thimbles that I purchased for like, I don't remember, it was like 10, 15 bucks. I had them up for like 200 bucks. And the person put in this really lowball bid, and I said, no, I'm not doing that. And the person kept writing me and telling me, well, your price is ridiculous. It's obscene. No one is ever going to pay that. The only thing people want to pay for anyway is the cases that you have them in for display. No one cares about the thimbles. You're never going to make, so just trying to like beat me down, like, psychologically, as to think that, oh, well, you're right, I might as well just give it to you. And, I just told her she was wrong, and, check back in a month and it'll probably be gone. And sure enough, within like a few weeks, it sold for like 150 or 160 or something like that. But, that's where I say you got to use data, and you got to use your comps research to, back you up in those situations. So it gives you the confidence that, the price you put up there is realistic. It's fair, might be high, but that could be very well what it's worth. And people always try, not always, but a lot of times people will try to talk you down from that and make you believe, and sometimes not in a nice way, that your item isn't good.
Yeah. So the reason she also brings that up is because we've had this one individual
who's not a buyer,
because they never purchased anything from us, but they sent a message. We have a
Sony 300 CD
changer. This big, yeah, and it's not working. So I just put it up there as is, untested, not working. I just left it like that. Put it out there, and we got it at the bin, so we paid by weight. It wasn't much. So this person messaged in a very aggressive, long message. How dare you try to sell this item without explaining exactly what is wrong with it? Capital letters and all this stuff.
Oh, yeah, all caps. Did you even try to open it? Why didn't you plug it in and take a picture of it plugged in? Is it showing table error? How do we as the buyer know what is wrong with it? How can you dare sell this online to people?
And then I took our first initiative. I don't like to leave anyone hanging, so I will go in and respond.
Yeah, we never leave messages unanswered.
Yeah, so I made sure to go in. I told them I apologize for the way you feel about the post, but this really is, as shown, I'm not an expert in audio equipment, therefore I can't sit here and tell you what is wrong with it.
But I plugged it in.
I plugged it in. It might turn on, might turn on. I don't want to guarantee, because also on our end, if I say it turned on and when it ships it doesn't turn on, they can send it back. So I kept it as is, and they kept blowing us up. Yeah. So
with then the same thing, and it was just, I'm telling you, you need to open this and check for this band and check for this and that and open it over here and then take a picture from this angle and put it on so we could see it. How can you have this listing? So we called eBay.
Well, first blocked them and said, you know what? If this person buys it, I definitely don't want to deal with them as a buyer.
Right.
So we'll just block it right now and avoid any issues.
Yeah.
But then we got another message. And all I thought was, you're blocked. How are you messaging us?
Right.
And I called eBay, let them know the situation. They're like, oh, but they're on your block list. I was like, yeah, but look at my messages. They're still messaging me. And I stopped answering at that point.
But I think they went through, I think we've received a total of like 8 messages.
Yeah, but they went around by messaging through other items.
Oh, okay.
And then eBay said, well, we'll make sure to block them completely. We're sorry. There you go.
Well, yesterday, we received a message again from this person, and it's not attached to an item. They just directly messaged us somehow to complain about the same thing. Why is this still on here? Did you check for table error? Did you plug this in? How are you still selling this? Why is it listed?
Yeah, and then I went in, I ignored the message and I didn't answer it. I just went back to call eBay, calmly, and I told them, like, I am okay with this because I could ignore it. I was like, but if this person is harassing somebody else who might not be as comfortable as a reseller and feel threatened by them, and who knows?
It's harassment.
It's harassment. And I was like, that's not great for them. And I was like, and on the other side, eBay, just to let you know, this person got blocked by me and 2 of your reps, and somehow they're going around your system and still getting to us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they're like, well, we're going to go straight to our security. I was like, go for it.
Yeah.
Like I said last time.
One of eBay's infamous glitches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do agree with, you guys just getting to the point where you're just not responding. And because, and that's just not for that, but that's also for social media. Like as your channel grows and gets bigger, you're probably inevitably going to run into some people who just come at you for ridiculous reasons or come into your chat and start trolling you and stuff like that. That's why eventually you'll have to have like moderators and stuff if you don't have them already, just to knock those kind of people out. But my policy on that is, and I'm really do that a lot in my Facebook group where we really don't have many problems, but once in a while, when you have 8,000 people, someone or close to 8,000, someone will sneak through every once in a while, and we just get rid of them and we don't engage in drama. That's my philosophy. I've got too much to do. I don't have time for the back and forth.
So as we're wrapping up, I do have one other question for you. Considering your history as a seller, do you still find that you're learning new things from other sellers today? Do you feel like you are learning from new sellers, or do you only look at veteran sellers for tips and advice?
No, absolutely not. In fact, I said this the other day at the end of my last live show, which was an old quote from the ancient Greek philosophers, which is he who, it goes something like this. I was going to say the ending part first, but I got to kind of bring you into it. It's he who thinks he knows everything is a fool, but the fool knows he's a wise man. So you've got to realize that you don't know everything, and you're not the expert in everything. And there might be some things you have some expertise in, but the learning never stops, and it just doesn't. And when I'm shipping and I'm packing stuff up, I'm turning on your show. Like the other night, I turned it on and I was like, wow, Tiffany knows a lot of stuff about clothes, and I was learning some things through that. And I was, I'll go on, Craigslist Hunter, or Don the auction professor is awesome. He does like a lot of bolo videos, and I learned stuff that way. I'll give you a great example. Like, I didn't even know this as long as I've been doing eBay, is that if you have an item up and it only has one picture on it compared to two, the way eBay handles two pictures is that it goes into a different server, and just the act of having to go into that other server to show the two pictures gives you a boost in sales. Now, I didn't know you get a boost in sales from having multiple pictures, but I didn't realize that that was the mechanism, that it has to go onto another server and that it just detects that. So, and I actually did have one item up in my store because it was just a photograph of something, and the back was just white. So I was like, why am I going to take a picture of the back? But now I actually, after hearing that, I put up the picture of the back, not to really show the picture of the back, but just to show that I have two pictures up.
Two pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also with like checking comps on things when you're finding items, do you find yourself assuming that something will sell today that might have sold for you well years ago without checking comps?
Yeah. So you mean, are there times where I don't actually have to go check the comps?
Yeah. Pretty much, do you assume an example is like, if I know this phone 2 years ago sold for $100,
yeah,
and I see it today,
right?
The question is, should I just pick it up without checking comps?
Because there are some things that will depreciate in value over time, and just because you get comfortable with selling something, do you just assume years later it will still sell for the same price, or do you always go on the safer side and still check the comps for something before you buy it to sell it?
That's a good question. I think the answer to it would depend on an item. Like, I'll give you a good example of that. So like right here behind me, I have a whole, and there's like all scattered all over the place, but I have this box of Masters of the Universe toys and figures. And these things just do not depreciate in value. They just go up in value. So if I see that, I'm not going to really check the comps because I just know that that's such a hot item. Or if it's like comic book, something in my wheelhouse. But if it's something, especially I would say along the line of electronics, that's probably a really good area where you might want to double check and see if anything has changed, because the technology is just changing so fast that what might be good, 2 years ago, like you said, now no one wants it anymore. No one even wants to be caught dead with it. So that would probably be the best example of something like that. But for a lot of the stuff that I do, like for example, there's like an old giant size Pac-Man poster coloring book that I've sold several times. Every time I see it, I just grab it and pick it up because I just know it sells, and I know that our generation is still around that loves to pick up vintage Pac-Man stuff. So I know I don't have to check that. But so it depends. I think, like I said, electronics is the area where you would most want to check those.
I think for us, it's clothes. We do sell a lot of used clothes.
Yeah.
And just because someone said, this Anthropologie shirt sold 2 years ago, I should go find that brand and sell it today. I will always check the comps on certain things, especially for clothes, because styles go out of season. There are some brands that will probably stay classic for a long time, but there are others that we have seen plenty of things that were popular a year ago just depreciate severely today.
Yeah, that's true. So you're correct, obviously, about that, because that has to deal with fashion and trends, and those things are pretty fickle in terms of where people will go with that stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think the final question before we head out, and again, anyone in the chat, do us a favor, hit that like button, and if you're not subscribed or checking out Dom's videos, you got to go out and check him out. He has a variety of videos, from shipping to negotiating.
Wealth of knowledge.
But I do want to ask, I'm seeing the Batman shirt. I am Team Batman, and she is Team Wonder Woman.
Oh yeah, well 100%. Yeah, but I also have my Batcat on right now.
Yeah. Well, now, okay, all right. Now show that off.
Right here.
Oh, well, you look like Team Wonder Woman there.
I mean, obviously, I got my Wonder Woman.
You got your own Wonder Woman. That's right. Well, I do have, because someone said that in the chat it looked like I was Batman tonight, but and it's true, this I actually bought through my Facebook group. We have a sellers supporting sellers event, and I purchased it through there. And so this has multiple DC characters, and so I've got you both represented. I've got Batman and Tiffany. I have Wonder Woman here too.
Very nice.
So I've got you. So what now? What was the question though? Do you want to know who I like?
What's your character?
Oh, my character. Oh, okay. My favorite character of all is Silver Surfer. And my second is Aquaman. And the reasons for that actually has to do with just how much I like exploring things. And outer space, there's just so much more to explore in outer space than the ocean. So that would be the reason. So that's why those two are my favorite characters.
That's an awesome reason too.
Thanks, Val. Val said I'm her superhero. I appreciate that, Val. I love that. Thanks so much. And you got awesome subscribers. Kathy Bull just subscribed. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And I just want to say again, from anyone from my Facebook group or my social media, because I advertise it, through there. For anyone who's coming, please subscribe to these two. They are awesome, and they're gonna, be really big on social media and everything. So, get in right now so they know you and everything. And they're really, really awesome.
No, yeah, appreciate that. And Reseller Rob wants to hear a Batman voice. I know nothing else then. I'm Batman.
Yeah, I'll skip that.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Dom. I know it's late over where you are right now.
No, not well. I know what you're saying, but for me, my average night is I'm up to like 2 or 3. So this is like 10 o'clock for me is when normally, like if I wasn't on with you, this is the time where the kids are finally in bed, Mrs. Primetime's coming down the stairs, and now I start going into like my second phase of the day. So for the next few hours to bang out things in my reselling business. So but thanks for having me. I had a blast. I knew it was going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to doing more collabs in the future with you guys.
No, definitely.
Thanks, Dom. Have a wonderful night. Thanks for joining us.
And thanks everyone in the chat and everyone watching later.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye, everyone. Bye.